When you and I met a while back, I was at just under 30K a month. And after implementing your appointment setter and following your process, we've now exceeded 100K per month. And definitely having the sales operation structure and the processes in place was a key thing that allowed us to get there.
How many months has it been since we started working together?
Three or four-ish or something. Yeah, so I think we hit those big milestones within about the first 90 days.
Hey everyone, this is Lloyd, founder of Setter Machine. Really excited to have with me today a really special guest, John, one of my clients who's absolutely killing it. I'm not going to steal his thunder, so I'll let him kind of share about his wins. But yeah, with that being said, John, why don't you do a quick introduction about yourself? And yeah, just some quick wins that you were able to get from a program, and then we can get deeper into the dive.
Yeah, for sure, man. Thanks for having me. Yeah, excited to be here. I know when you and I met Lloyd a while back, I was at just under 30K a month, and after implementing your appointment setter and following your process, we've now exceeded 100K per month, and definitely having the sales operation structure and the processes in place was a key thing that allowed us to get there.
Awesome. How many months has it been since we started working together?
I think it's three or four-ish or something. Yeah, so I think we hit those big key milestones within about the first 90 days.
That's pretty solid. I don't think anyone would complain about those results. So yeah. Why don't we just learn a little bit more about you then? Like, what's your background and what type of business are you building? And yeah, give us a little bit of context.
Yeah, so my background is in recruiting. Right? I worked at agencies in recruiting. I started my own recruiting agency and grew it from there. And so now I offer a coaching program that helps other people who also want to start their own profitable recruiting business. So we have with that program, it's been going on for a while, just been me, like a one-man show. And I think part of the reason why I had reached out to you is because I had tried to hire setters myself, went on Upwork, went on, this VA job boards, and try to find one that were the most experienced, got the best reviews. But then I think twice I tried and failed. Even went to hire another agency too to give me someone. 3 months later, that's failed. And so I was literally just going to give up and be like, I'll just do it myself forever. And then when hearing your process, I was like, okay, let me give it one more shot. I'm sure Lloyd has cracked the code, and then it worked. So really happy that I didn't give up on having somebody else handle my sets, my appointments.
Brilliant.
Rather. Yeah.
Brilliant. Could you maybe share a bit more about how you win business? And you can give me like a before and after, right? Like, what were you doing before working with me? Obviously things were working because you managed to get yourself to like 30K a month still. And then I would assume that certain things like was not working really well in that pre-setter strategy. And then maybe you can share a bit about like what's happening today and what's working today and how you've really integrated your setters into your ecosystem. Because I think people here actually want to hear your how you do things more so than just you talking about how great we are. So I'd love for you to maybe give them some value as well.
Yeah, so I think my process before working with you was that I was doing everything myself, doing mostly outbound reach outs on LinkedIn. Didn't have time to even touch Facebook. Right? Most of my market is on LinkedIn, so I was really leading on that platform. I had LinkedIn automation running, but I would sometimes take a while to get back to all the leads, right? Maybe once a day, once every other day, I would check my inbox and reply back to people, but I didn't have the bandwidth to follow up, to post content. So I was really just kind of treading water on my own, but I was still able to get appointments every now and again. And then I had I have YouTube ads running as well, and that's bringing in people. But I think a big challenge on the paid ads level is that I was taking every call because I didn't have a process for someone to screen, triage, filter. And that was just super draining talking to people who are unqualified or right. So it was kind of just a bit of a hot mess. And really what the setter that you installed into my business was able to do was that on one hand, she completely took over all my LinkedIn reach outs and manages the process, the automation, and all the DMs. And so I think a big thing that that was really helpful was a conversation tree. All right. That's something that we had designed together, which was like a if-then logic flow chart. With if the prospect says, I'm interested, you kind of take them down this logic. If they say, hey, I'm not, or follow with me later, it goes down this conversation tree path. And beforehand, I would give a VA or someone I hired like an 8-page script. I'm like, here you go, read it, study it, and like run with it. And I realized that was setting them up for failure, right? And giving him having way too high expectations. They could take that and kind of just do what I do, so that wasn't really fair for me to expect that from an employee without the right processes and structure in place, right?
Awesome. Yeah, no, that definitely is a big part of our process. So with that being said, I'm kind of actually curious why you ended up going with us in particular. And obviously you now have the benefit of hindsight. You understand what the results are like, but maybe you could walk us through like what is it that you thought was like really compelling about our offer prior to working with us? And then now that you've been through the offer, maybe you can talk about the experience that you got outside of just the results. Like now we know you got from like 30K a month to 100K a month in 3 months. Obviously the results speak for themselves, but talk about your actual experience working with me and my team. Would love to hear about both sides of, what you liked prior and then as well, like what you like now that you've been through the program.
Yeah, man. So what I was really impressed with is that like being accessible to you or having access to you from day one, right? Even on the initial calls, right? You were on the call with me. And then when it came to the onboarding, the setting things up, you were very hands-on. So I had assumed that kind of given how long you've been in space, that I would just be working with some type of administrator. So just the fact that I knew that I could trust you to kind of get this going for me was definitely gave me some peace of mind. And then ongoing, it was really valuable to have my setter attend your weekly coaching, right? So I knew that, okay, not only are you going to install them, train them, and get them up and running, but then you'll be providing ongoing support so that I don't have to, right? Like, because I'm already treading water with all the different tasks and managing, wearing every single hat in the business. It felt nice to know that, okay, if my setter has any questions or needs training, that they can come to you and you can help them out, right? And help ensure that they're successful. So that I think for those reasons, it gave me a lot of confidence to go with you. And I really kind of saw your offer as more of a boutique service rather than some of the other people out there that feel like they're more commercialized. And I'd be a cog in the wheel, one of many clients that were just being passed around, or what I mean, or given a cookie cutter template process. With you kind of customize a lot for me. So that was really useful. And I think as a result, like right now, like things have been really peaceful and awesome, because I think one, you kind of asked how the ecosystem has changed, right? And with the paid ads right now, my setter is doing all the triage calls and initial calls for people who have indicated they might not be as qualified, right? So based on how they answer the form on my funnel, it'll go directly to the setter. And that's been great because it doesn't go to me and it doesn't go to my sales team. So anyone that is maybe questionable on the fence, she handles that. Anybody that is qualified really high, that goes directly to the closer. So having that sorting process has made things easier. And then if the person that my setter talks to, she qualifies them, then she can put them on the sales calendar. So it's not like I will lose them. And that kind of is nice. As well as doing triage calls for people from LinkedIn as well. And on top of that, I've been even able to expand the setter's job and being able to, at this point, kind of post content for me too, right? I think the main thing that was really helpful is that you didn't find me just a setter, but you found me one that was like super solid, like in terms of written, the communication skills, like work ethic, prior experience, like, and I know this as a recruiter, I'm in the recruiting business, like, two candidates who look similar on paper aren't built the same, right? And this is kind of how I justify my recruiting fees to clients by saying, hey, because I'm going to give you somebody who's significantly stronger than the people that you have, and you'll know, right? If they're not significantly stronger, don't hire them. And you brought me someone that was significantly stronger than any VA or setter I've ever talked to, and as a result, I haven't had to do too much training, like, right? She's been able to do all the setting work, but then now I've promoted her to do content posting, content management. She's doing video editing for me, creating thumbnails, like doing all this stuff. So she's like, I don't have to think about YouTube. I don't have to think about Facebook, email blast. She does that for me too, manages my email campaigns. So I'm like, cool, this is great. So she's almost become like, head of like sales operations or head of organic, organic marketing, so to speak. So that's been cool. And that's allowed me to install 2 closers, with her. And then now I'm hiring 2 more closers, and, it allows me to be off the phone completely and focused on, bigger picture stuff, things that are more creative, that are going to accelerate the business even further without me actually working in the business. Right.
Damn, I mean, we speak offline from time to time, and I didn't even know that you gave her all those additional tasks. That's pretty.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that to you. She just like because she's very hungry. She's like, hey, like, what else can I do? She kept coming back to me like, hey, what else can I do? Like, how else can I help? I'm like, okay, well, you want to give us a try, and so it was been kind of win-win, right? I get to pay her more, she gets to deliver more value, and it works out for everyone. So yeah, I think really at the end of the day, this is kind of for founders who are transitioning like I was from a one-person show to, more of a manager, more of a director versus like a doer. And one of my mentors recently told me the other day that like you can't read the label of the jar while you're inside the jar, right? You have to step out of it, right? You can't read the label from within the jar. So now I've just recently been able to step out of the day-to-day jar of my business and be like, oh, like, why am I doing this way? I think, I've been meaning to do this. Why not do this now? So now I have these other really exciting projects I have space to work on and put into place, whereas before I was too caught up in the day-to-day doing, right? And everyone knows to like, you're supposed to work on your business, not in your business, but how to make that transition, it's very hard without the help. And so you've been the help that allowed me to step out of that jar and see kind of the forest from the trees and be able to make better decisions. Kind of like the general, I feel like I was a soldier in the trenches that was used to kind of just surviving and fighting. And now I'm like the general on the hill. I can see everything and I can move the pieces around better and really, be more effective that way, even though it feels good to sometimes be doing the work. I'm used to being in the trenches. I realize that now I get to be more effective and grow the business. So yeah, I'm really excited.
That's brilliant, man. So what's next on the horizon in terms of goals, in terms of things that you're going to be trying to execute? What are the bottlenecks that you got to overcome that are in the way of your immediate short-term goals? Tell us a bit about the future, I guess.
Sure. Well, the 2 main things I'm working on now or 3 main things. One is I'm installing a growth consultant to help me launch cold email. So I'm adding cold email into the mix. Whereas before that was always a someday maybe, but now that I have the space, I can implement cold email, which is going to slam, our calendar even further. So that's exciting. And then I also am making space to do YouTube organic. That's something that was always a long-term thing that like, I know it's useful, but it's someday maybe. Now I get to put that into the forefront. And then lastly, I've been really into product development. I think a lot of people in the space will like make a program and then just like run it for 5-10 years, right? Without updating it. We know a lot of people in the space have done that and they kind of get away with it. But then I realized that like, unless you're always innovating your content, your tools, people are kind of, you're not giving your clients the best edge they can. So I'm trying to be obsessed with product development, and that way people are getting the latest tools, automation systems, scripts, things that are going to give them the edge in the competitive industry, which is recruiting. All right. So, and that way, then it's all kind of, it's still self-serving because while my clients are getting better results, of course, I'll get better testimonials. I go back into my marketing. But at the end of the day, they get results too. And it's just really nice. Like everyone wins. So been really focusing on making the best, mousetrap for them.
That's awesome. Man. Like, I think that's one thing that we immediately bonded on when we first met. It's like, we're both very customer centric. So you don't want to put out mediocre products. And if you got to charge a little bit more because your products are just like higher quality than everyone else's, it is what it is. At the end of the day, if your clients get like significantly more results, they'll pay the marginally more rate. And yeah, I think that's really how you can end up creating the most value and impact, which for some entrepreneurs really matters. Not everyone, but I think for a good subset of entrepreneurs, that does really matter. So why don't we just like end off with, unless you wanted to say something in particular there, but I was just going to ask like final closing remarks for anyone who's listening, who's thinking about scaling, building a setter team, et cetera, et cetera. Should they work with us? Should they not? Or should they even, try setters as a strategy? Yeah. Just like final thoughts plus.
Sure. Yeah. So one note before the final thoughts is, going back to the whole building being client obsessed, client satisfaction obsessed. I remember that was one thing that came up kind of just, you made a passing comment early on that was really like, wow, it impressed me, was where you said, yeah, you've even intentionally, you said, you use the word throttled sales. I don't know if you remember saying this. You throttled your growth so that you can have the space and focus to make your clients happier, right? And a lot of owners aren't interested in doing that. They're never going to sacrifice more and more revenue. They'll grow revenue at the expense of client satisfaction and client results, right? And you were like, no, we actually purposely for a few months kept things at this level so that way we can serve our clients better and refine our process. So I was like, wow, and you weren't saying that as like a sales thing at all. You kind of mentioned it offhand, and I'm like, oh shit, that's really impressive. And I saw you actually do that, and so that kind of inspired me to do the same thing, right? Hold off on some of the organic marketing and stuff like that, and really focus on product. So that was really helpful. But in terms of closing thoughts, yeah, for anyone listening to this who has done setting yourself, if you're constantly on DMs, posting content, or juggling a team of VAs or one VA, and you have any type of headache of frustration like I did, definitely recommend reaching out to Lloyd, set up a call. He'll kind of fill you in on best practices, processes, things that you might not know. And whether or not you become a private client of Lloyd like I am, at least he'll be able to give you some insight that you probably don't have. And once you kind of break the shackles of being in your business, doing all the work that a setter should be doing instead of the owner, it's so liberating. And yeah, we've been able to like 3x our revenue. And it's been great in terms of my time too, because 3 weeks ago, I have a newborn son now, and there's no way I would be able to be a non-absentee father. I've told be an absentee father if I was still doing everything I was juggling on my own, right? But now that I have a team, I can actually like feel good about taking a couple hours doing my family responsibilities, spending time with my family, and have the business still grow, not just like survive, but grow without me actually trying to take over, right? So that's what I would recommend to someone watching this.
Epic. Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it. And I hope everyone was able to, get some value out of this.
Yeah, awesome, man. Take care, Lloyd. Thanks again.